Hey everyone, and welcome to Cocktails and Classics, where each episode we force our friend Cameron, who hasn't seen many classic films, to watch one. During the film, we'll be drinking a cocktail inspired by the movie, and we'll give you the recipe so you can try it at home. Joining me this week, we have Cameron,
Hey.
Zach,
Hey.
and Carlos.
What's up?
So this week we watched Jaws from 1975, directed by Steven Spielberg. And Carlos, we need a little liquid refreshment. What do you got for us this week?
All right, thanks for tuning in again, everyone. So our refreshment this week is going to be the Shark Attack Shot. This recipe is presented to us from Tipsy Bartender. So go ahead and check out the recipe in the show notes below. Here's what you're going to need for this shot. You're going to need 1 ounce of tequila, a splash of blue curacao, 3 ounces of lemon lime soda, half an ounce of grenadine, and half an ounce of UV cherry. I highly recommend that you take the time to make this shot because you can really impress your friends with this and kind of create a nice ominous mood for the movie Jaws. So if you decide to make yourself a shark attack shot, send us a picture on Instagram at Cocktails and Classics Pod and use hashtag Cocktails and Classics. We'd love to see how your shark attack shot came out. Maybe even show us a little video of the action, and you'll know what I mean when you make it. We'd also love to hear your thoughts on how it turned out. If you have not seen the movie Jaws, sit back, sip on this week's shot, the shark attack, and enjoy the show. There will be spoilers from here on out, so heads up. Otherwise, continue on for our post-movie discussion.
This week we watched Jaws, a 1975 film by Steven Spielberg, starring Roy Scheider, Robert Shaw, and Richard Dreyfuss. Little plot summary is that when a killer shark unleashes chaos on a beach community, it's up to the local sheriff, a marine biologist, and an old seafarer to hunt the beast down. It's a little bit of an action film, a little bit of a horror thriller, maybe? I guess it's horror. Currently has an 8.0 out of 10 on IMDb, just missing the 250. It was nominated for 4 Oscars, including Best Picture, and it won Best Sound, Best Film Editing, and Best Music. Best music being John Williams, beloved composer of the show.
We love that guy.
He is the beast in the booth.
Quite. Quite.
Cam, what's your initial reaction to the film?
My impression of the film was I actually thought this movie was, weirdly enough, I wasn't too excited to watch this movie, but I was actually pleasantly surprised. I thought it was I didn't think it was as campy as I thought it was going to be. Like, I kind of, along the same lines of, like, Indiana Jones, when I watched that, I was like, this is, like, not, like, it's not that it was bad. It was more so that it was just, like, it felt a lot older than I thought it would. And this movie actually didn't really feel like that to me.
This is one that I think I saw beforehand. I don't know. I swear I've seen the movie, but there were parts where when I was watching it, I was like, I don't remember this.
This movie terrified me as a child. I would not go in a swimming pool after watching this movie.
A lot of swimming pool sharks. You got to watch out for those.
Well, the bathtub too. Like, I was at the age where I was like transitioning out of the bathtub and into the shower, and I took very quick baths because I was scared. I also saw Deep Blue Sea around the same time, which is like shitty Jaws. And in that one, I'm pretty sure there's scenes where sharks like swim up through plumbing. So I was like, oh my God, Bruce is going to like swim up through my drain pipe and
Oh my God.
eat me.
Isn't Deep Blue Sea the one with like Ice Cube?
Yeah.
I think it's LL Cool J, Samuel Jackson.
Yeah, Sam Jackson's in it.
Yeah, what I was going to say on that topic is that I was actually expecting to be more scared in the movie, but I wasn't. Maybe it was just because, like, you kind of know what's going to happen, I guess. I will say there were some parts where I was, like, kind of on edge, where I was like, what's going to happen? Like, who's going to die, basically, or, like, who's the shark going to get? But I don't know.
Oh, I was banking on Sean, I think it was, the Chief Brody's, like, youngest
yeah, I
son.
thought he was
totally thought he
donezo.
was gonna. Yeah, when he was like chasing after Michael, he's like, I don't like you anymore, Michael. I was like, oh, Sean's about to get friggin' eaten by the shark.
Yeah, I thought one of them was gonna die. Oh, I also thought the oceanographer was gonna die. Like,
Oh,
when
dude, he just disappears for
Yeah.
like.
well,
Like-
I thought he was gonna die earlier when he got out of the water to check the hull of that boat and he saw the dead body. I thought the shark was gonna get him there.
I wrote down. I was like, Hooper just like dips out for like the entire climax of the movie. Like
Wow.
shark blows up, and then he just pulls up, and he's like, "Oh, hey, good job." Oh,
Yeah.
Quint's dead. Oh shit.
He was
Well,
like,
because
"Whoa."
he didn't want to die by the shark because he
What was
dropped
that?
his friggin' spear like a bitch.
He's like Quint. No, damn. You think we can ride back on these buoys? Yeah, let's do it. You know, you're just like, okay.
It's so funny because I feel like that happens a lot in like the 80s movies where someone dies who they've been like, they were like sharing this experience with him for like days. And then he dies and they're like, Quint? Nah, he's dead. Ah, fuck it. Let's go back to shore. It's like, I feel like there's such a small, like,
It's
they
just a
don't
quick.
give
It's just a quick
anything.
sigh.
Yeah, like I feel like they don't actually give anything to like the dead people. Like it's just like, oh yeah, he's fucking toast, man.
Quint was kind of a douche, though. Like,
They grew. I
When
think
they-
they grew on each other though when they were out to sea.
yeah.
I think they didn't get along, but at least I think they had some sort of respect for each other, somewhat. Maybe not Quint, because Quint was just like, f all you guys.
He totally like kills the mood when they're all drinking and shit, and he's like, "Oh yeah, this is the USS Indianapolis. Oh, 1,100 men went into the water and only
Okay.
300 came out." That was like such an intense scene.
That was definitely a buzzkill, but counterpoint, they asked about it and kept asking about it more. Like he didn't want to talk about it, but they kind of brought it out.
Yeah,
They were like,
They're
"Oh,
all,
that's
like,
from
joking.
a tattoo removal. What was the tattoo removed?" No, I don't want to. I don't want to say. No, now you have to. And then, like, it's kind of like when someone, because I feel like I've had, like, a lot of people have had that happen where it's like, you push someone until they finally give you the answer, and you're like, ah, shit, I shouldn't have, I shouldn't have pushed him for that. This is bad for everyone involved. I should have not done that.
what is that? A mom tattoo? No, these are the. This is like a memory of the 900 people who died on this ship.
right.
Oh,
Richard Dreyfuss
Right.
pulls
Damn.
back his shirt. She ripped my heart out.
is there anything that like did or did not surprise you, Cam?
I think the movie aged really well, which surprised me. In particular to this movie, though, I was surprised at how little you saw the shark until the very end of the movie, or at least like the last like 20 minutes, just because like it's kind of terrorizing people throughout the movie. But for the most part, the shark is like, from the perspective of a camera, and they don't show anything else other than like the very end. And honestly, I was surprised at how good the shark looked. Like, that thing looked friggin' real, which is like a testament to their like special effects,
I think that's attributed to two things. One being, I think in horror movies, it does really well when you don't show the monster because people's imagination is always worse than anything they can really show. The
You mean
second
better?
being, yeah.
Okay. People's
I meant-
imagination sucks.
No, I meant worse as in like.
Oh,
worse,
I
like,
see.
fear.
Bigger baddie.
Like,
Right.
yeah, it's like saying like, damn, she bad, but like she good,
I see. I got you.
Yeah, yeah.
It sounds like it's kind of like season 1 Stranger Things Demogorgon, where they
Yeah.
didn't show it the entire time, and then they
Right.
finally showed it, and then like they weren't a big budget show yet, so it was kind of like, oh,
It's like a scrawny
Alright.
dude with a flower on his forehead. Yeah.
yeah, like the later seasons definitely picked it up because they had the budget, but yeah, it was just kind of like, oh, that's okay, like that's not awful, but
They did spend a shit ton of money on these sharks, though.
oh, I'm sure
There were a
yeah.
few different sharks.
Yes.
The second part being that the $500 million animatronic sharks that they built, one sunk to the bottom of the ocean, and then as they got into the water,
No.
like they didn't work at all because of the salt water. So
Oh wow!
there's
You
like,
mean-
You said $500 million.
Yeah, you mean 500,000?
oh, maybe it was $500,000. I don't know. I just watched like a thing. the other day.
$500 million is a shit ton of money.
I think there were
That'd be
three
like-
$500,000
That's like a Disney ride.
Yeah, that's like half the budget for the Avengers Endgame movie today. $500 million in 1975 would be like catastrophic.
It's 500,000.
Catastrophic. 500 million, man. That's like money
And
you'd
they're
pay
worth three
like
of them.
that's like money you'd pay like Doc Antle if he like raised sharks instead of tigers.
What?
It's a
don't
very
get that
obscure Tiger King reference, I think.
Oh, I missed out on the Tiger King
To
part.
interact with these.
Oh shit, we got to get the youths. We got to get the
And
youths.
trained.
Carol Baskin. God damn, Carol Baskin.
TikToks.
Are we pandering?
Fine.
Are we pandering
Vine is
enough?
full.
Carol Baskin's husband
Snapchat.
chief.
What are the kids using these days?
Neither have I.
TikTok, Instagram.
You ever seen Carlos and Carol Baskin in the same room?
Oh my god, Carlos killed her husband.
They did do. So they had like real shark footage shot through a cage, plus the animatronics.
Oh, so
Plus-
they did use real shark footage there too.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So it's like a bit of everything, sort of, to like mix it all together. And I think because of the animatronics messing up, they really pushed hard into we don't show as much of the shark, and we just kind of like leave it up to the imagination.
The cage scenes were really cool. Like, I mean, when we were
Yeah, where it was like wrestling the cage.
yeah.
Can we just turn this podcast into a John Williams fan club?
That's basically what it is. A Spielberg
Yeah,
fan
it's-
club,
yeah.
and John Williams is a close number 2.
This is like arguably one of his most iconic scores in any
yeah.
like across anything. Like it's like in pop culture references and like everybody knows.
It was in Airplane.
Yeah, everybody knows the Jaws. Like I don't know what to call it. Like
Theme.
yeah, exactly.
Overture.
Yeah. Yeah, where it builds tension and it starts off very slow and deep, and then it builds tension and it goes faster and faster. I mean, it's in fucking SpongeBob. Like, come on. Which is like basically like that whole episode is like, you know, a rip of this movie. So where he like, if you remember, it's like the episode where it's like, where's that music coming from? And then it's like the orchestra is like on the boat. Like with the doors open, and they try to like close it to get the shark to go away, but then like the door like bursts wide open again and starts playing. I don't know. Maybe that's too much of a deep cut SpongeBob reference.
It's too much SpongeBob lore.
Too deep into the SpongeBob lore. Yeah, if you haven't read the manga, you can't watch the anime.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like the Halloween theme, like John Carpenter's Halloween theme.
Yeah.
It's
Oh, yeah.
it's one of those things that you hear and you're like, oh my god, that's it.
Yeah.
Oh, you know exactly what it is.
Yeah, exactly.
Was there a most memorable scene or best scene for anybody?
Yeah, absolutely.
No.
The end scene when Quint is just being torn apart, and it lasts like way longer than it
Slides
needs
to his
to.
death.
Oh my god.
But
I thought he was
does
gonna fight
such
him
a
off.
good job. He does such a good job, like acting, getting torn apart by this massive ass shark. It's a really good scene, and I think it just lasted a little longer than it needed to. It's so graphic.
It's kind of sad when he's like kicking the shark. Carlos and I were talking about that. You're like, he's just flailing his feet, and you're just like, oh, at some point they're going in the mouth. At
Yeah.
some point.
That's the thing. They're just gonna slip at some point.
I was like, come on, fight him off, man. You got this. And he's like, you don't got this.
Right.
All my Shark Week training kicked in. I was like, punch him in the nose, punch him
Right,
in the
that's
nose.
what I
That
was
gets him
thinking
to
the whole
go
time.
away.
It doesn't
Come
matter,
on.
dude. He grabbed the machete and was like,
It's
going
like
at
if
it.
you catch it, like it's like in the last like maybe few seconds, like he like jabs the freaking shark, and he's like still going down, like trying like to take this shark.
it
down
was
with
it was a valiant effort.
It
But
was.
damn, Quint
He fought the
went
good
out.
fight.
Rip.
He did.
This is just
He
a
lost his
conspiracy
battle
though that the
with
town
Jaws.
didn't have to pay him $10,000.
Yeah.
It was also up to that point where
the
I
chief
figured out
let him
that
die.
where I also figured out that Quint was wearing slip-ons instead of boots the whole time.
Oh, he had slides on. You can't do
He had
that.
those slides, man. It's like, it makes
He had them Sperry's. He's the OG.
Oh, the OG boat shoe.
Yeah. Well, he does make a reference when Brody walks in. He's like, "Oh, you got your rubbers on," because he's got the freaking galoshes.
One of the most memorable scenes for me was when Brody sees the shark for the first time. Because he's just like,
And he shoots up.
well, yeah, he's like throwing out chum or whatever, and then he kind of like sees out of the corner of his eye, and then he turns, and then his eyes like get all wide, and he like kind of just like stands up, and he goes towards the captain, and he says like, you know, the what I think is probably the most famous line from this. It's like, you know, you're gonna need a bigger boat. Like, what? And like, yeah, just the fact that he like played that scene so well, just like, oh my god, like this is not like none of them had been prepared for what they were about to try and do, basically.
One that stands out to me, it's probably not the most memorable, but one that when it happened, I'm just like, yeah, that's the scene, is the Zolly shot when he's on the beach and it like zooms and dollies at the same time, so it really distorts the world around him when that shark comes.
Oh yeah.
Or no, it wasn't at the 4th of July thing. Sorry, it was.
It was
when
no,
that
it was
kid,
before
that
it.
first kid like gets taken.
Yep. Yeah, it was when that happened. Honestly, when I saw that, I actually kind of thought of you because I was like, oh man, Dylan's gonna love this shot.
Dylan's gonna love the Hitchcock shot. Yeah.
Yeah. The like pan and zoom. I don't know, what do they move the camera and zoom at the same time, right?
Yeah, it's a dolly zoom. Yeah. So the camera's pushing towards him as
like,
you
oh,
zoom
man,
out.
Dylan's gonna love this.
By the way, that kid's mom just reamed that guy. And that speech, when she came up to like,
Yeah.
you knew there was a shark in the water. You knew it, and you let people go in there. It's like, wow. And that guy took it all on the chin. Very,
Yeah, that
very
was
good of him.
nice of him. Honestly, if I were him, I would have been like, he did this, not me. The mayor.
Ron
the people
DeSantis
show. I wanted
was
to.
a dick.
The Ron DeSantis. Yeah, honestly, it's weird, but like it's funny because I feel like so many of this movie was like parallel to today, where people are like, "Nope, there's no shark in the water. It's all cool. We need the economy to come back, so like we're gonna open this up regardless, and I don't care." And then like we have like some like decline, and they're like, "Nope, we caught the shark. We got it right here. This is it. I don't want to investigate this any further. We got him."
We don't care
like,
how many
no.
limbs show up on the beach. We're opening.
Right. It's like
I did
like,
see.
I was not expecting. I was not expecting that parallel, but here we are.
I did see a IMDb goof of speaking of limbs falling in the water. When the guy who, like Michael and them, they're on the boat, and there's the guy that comes over and he's like, "Hey boys, you got to tie the knot better," or whatever. So when that guy dies, when he's in the boat, his feet are up and you can see his feet, and he's barefoot. And then once his leg falls into the water, he has a shoe on.
Oh, that's weird. I didn't notice that, but I did see the like leg fall down. I was like, oh, that's pretty gruesome. This movie was actually really gruesome in some parts.
Dude, when that Alex kid dies, the first kid, it's like a fountain of blood.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
Like,
And then his like
10.
and then
Just
his
got
like
massacred.
thing that's like tattered like washes up on shore with the blood. I'm like, oh fuck.
Or even the woman's body, Chrissy's body at the very
Yeah.
beginning, when it's
Yeah.
just in that sand pile and the crabs are there.
oh yeah. I mean, so like for me, like memorable like was the last time I watched this movie. I remember the initial scene where they're coming up on the boat and Hooper discovers the dead guy inside. Like I don't know why. Like for some reason that scene scared me more than probably the rest of the attacks, just because it's like it's just that dark water. Like I would like
Yeah, so
I would
this is
never
at night, right?
Yeah, I would never in my mind, like not even in a lake, like go in when it's pitch black like that. And
Oh,
he's
and
just
he's
like
nonchalant about it too.
yeah, he's just like, whoop, all right, I'll go check it out with just a
Oh,
flashlight.
I'll be fine. Don't
All right.
worry.
No, guys, the only way we can survive is if I go in this cage and stab the shark with this hypodermic needle. Trust me, there's no way that it'll fail.
There's no says man that proceeds to
Immediately-
fail at everything.
Immediately drops the needle when the shark shows up.
Right. It wasn't even a struggle, like you said. Like he hit the shark caught him off guard by coming from behind him, and then like he just like dropped it. Like, all right. Did you really need to hold it? Like, did he really need to hold the whole thing outside of the thing? He couldn't have just like poked it through the cage. Like he had his arms outside of the cage. With
Yeah, that's what I was
thing.
noticing too.
It was like you couldn't have just like held your arms in the cage and then just like poked him.
Shark's gonna shark, man.
True. They're good for two things: swimming and killing.
Fucking. Wait.
Oh, and making baby sharks.
Yeah.
Baby shark, do 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 do. Baby
No,
shark. do,
three
do, 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 do.
things: swimming, eating, and making babies.
I mean, the end scene, "Smile, you son of a bitch." where he puts the canister, I guess oxygen, I think it was,
Yeah.
oxygen into the shark's mouth and then shoots it. Lots of foreshadowing leading up to that.
Oh yeah.
like when he unties the knot and they're like, "What are you doing? This is compressed air. It'll blow up." And then
Yeah,
there's
like, careful, that shit'll blow up. They said that
Lots.
numerous times. And
then
then
there's like lots of shots where it just stays
Yeah.
on the canister. You're like, something's gonna happen with that canister.
They pan to the canister.
I will remember this later. What a fun fact. I'll keep that in mind.
Most quotable line? I already know Camps.
I mean, I'm just gonna say it. I feel
There's a
like the
couple
most
softballs.
quotable line is "You're gonna need a bigger boat." Like, I feel like it's not a contest. I feel like there are other ones that in the movie are like prevalent, and it's like, yeah, I recognize that, but that is,
Yeah,
I
that's
feel
probably
like,
the biggest.
by
Yeah.
and large, one of the most memorable lines. Like, honestly, it's one of the most memorable lines of any movie that has ever come out.
Smile, you son of a bitch. I think that one is.
See, I've never heard of that,
yeah.
honestly.
Really? Oh,
Yeah.
I feel like I've said that one multiple times.
Oh, well, maybe I just didn't get the reference.
I thought you were just talking to me when you said that.
Aw, Dylan's such a sweet guy. Wants me to smile. more.
I think the classic Quint speech. You ever seen a doze?
Oh. Yeah, black
a
with
shark-
the nose eyes.
A shark-sized chief.
Yeah.
Remember Dana Carvey? Dana Carvey was doing an impression of that in the movie The Master of Disguise. It was hilarious.
That's where I know that from. I was like,
Yeah,
I know this
also,
speech, but
yeah.
where the fuck is it from?
It's an older movie. It's
like,
from
sorry, I knew it was from
2003,
Jaws, but I was like, where do I know it from? But it's definitely Master of Disguise. Yep. Like a nose eyes.
It's used in a ton of radio shows
Oh,
too.
also, I think I want to say they might have it in Always Sunny on one episode, but I don't remember. I think Charlie says it in Always Sunny somewhere.
When the mayor is talking to Brody, he's like, "You yell shark, we got a panic on our hands on the 4th of July." That's one that is pretty popular too.
I like when Hooper and Quint are talking. They're talking about the shark cage, and Quint gives his little cage goes in the water. You go in the water. Shark's in the water. Our shark. I like that little bit, that
Fucking
exchange
weird.
between Hooper and Quint.
That's when Quint is like in total douche mode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anti-shark cage. You go inside the cage? What am I going to tell the kids? Tell 'em I'm going
fishing.
Oh yeah, and then like he tries to radio back for Coast Guard help, and
And
Quint just smashes
destroys
the
it?
radio for no good reason. It's like, why? Just turn it
It was
off. or
attracting the
something,
shark.
bro.
Is the radio waves were attracting the shark.
That can't be real.
That's a tinfoil hat theory. I like to bring those to the show.
Is that really the theory of why he destroyed the radio?
Quint just wanted that sweet credit for killing the shark.
I think that's it. Is that he's like, no one else can know the shark. We've got to get it.
It was just so weird that he was just like, nope, destroying this. No, we're not calling for help. We got this. And then he proceeds to die. Like, you fucking idiot.
When Quint's like, try this drink. And they like, cheers. Here's to swimming with bow-legged women.
I was like, what the fuck? Fucking weird.
Another one is Brody and his wife are like sitting near the window, and she comes over. She says, "You want to get drunk and fool around?"
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, and then they immediately start yelling at the kids, right?
Yeah.
That's
Get away
when
from the
his son is in
boat! Get out of the water! What are you doing?
I mean,
love
there
how
was a
she-
shark
I love
in
how
the
she
water.
flipped the script, too. She was like, oh, they're just playing. He's not going to go in the water. And he's like, yeah, I know. He just, I want him to read the manual first. And then she's like, listen to your father. Get out of the water.
The boat manual. Damn it.
Got to read your boat manual.
And then the last line in the movie, I think, is another pretty popular one. Is I used to hate the water. Can't imagine why.
I feel like I would have liked if the movie just ended with them going away, like, fucking off into the sunset rather than that line, to be honest.
Yeah, you need a little epilogue, right? Or maybe
No.
not.
I think we got the entire wrap up, basically. They killed the shark and then they're going home.
And then everyone found out that Quint died.
And nobody cared because he was an annoying old coot anyway.
Spoiler alert. There are multiple Jaws movies.
Yeah, but Spielberg didn't direct any of them, right?
That I don't know.
No,
I don't think he did.
he did not.
Is this main actor in all those Jaws movies?
Roy Scheider does make a reappearance, I believe, in Jaws 2.
Is that the
at
sheriff?
least. Yeah, Brody.
It is interesting. I feel like this whole movie kind of defined how people see sharks. Like,
Oh, yeah,
single-handedly.
absolutely. Beaches too. Like this movie
Yeah.
came out and people stopped going to beaches.
Oh, really? That's crazy.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I can't blame them.
I can. Get in the water. Why are you not in the water?
Oh, that was so weird when the mayor came up to that one guy and was like, "Why aren't you in the water?" He's like, "Well, I don't know." He's like, "Get in the water." Get in the
Get
water,
in
you
the
son
water,
of a
you
bitch.
fucking pussy.
Yeah, I was like, wow, this mayor's just like bullying people into going in this shark-infested water because people are obviously cautious because they're like, yeah, I heard that you had a shark attack a couple days ago, so I don't really want to go in the water. Like, you fucking get in that water, you're gonna fucking like it, or I will personally kick you out of this town.
Well, and then it's like after that whole attack on the 4th of July, he still is like adamant to signing the thing to give Quint money to go hunt the shark. He's like, "Oh, my son and daughter or whatever were in there." And you're just like, "Okay, so sign the thing. Why are you still not signing the paper?"
Right.
Is there a holy shit moment for you guys?
Probably Captain Quint. Like I didn't expect that much because I mean that's the most drawn out I feel like attack of the movie, where you actually see all of it. Like most of the time it's just flailing around in water, maybe a limb or two, but it just like so vivid in like my mind for when he goes down and it's like wow, okay.
I thought when that kid went down, that was almost worse just because, like, A, it's like a child, and then B, it's just like we've said, it's just like gushing a fountain of blood. It's like, holy shit, that's a lot of fucking blood. That dude's fucking dead.
When they just fucking annihilate the shark at the end.
Oh,
It
yeah.
blows
Yeah.
up,
Blows
and
up and it's
viscera
like-
everywhere.
Yeah.
I think the biggest holy shit moment is the opening of the film. And it's something that I think this movie does really well is it gets so quiet that all you hear is like the sound of the ocean. And the man and the woman running out into the water, Chrissy gets out into the water and then gets, the first shark attack. If you don't know it's coming, it's definitely a holy shit moment.
Yeah, this movie took no time to get right into it.
Nope.
It's
Here's
like
what this movie's about.
5 minutes. Here's a shark attack. All right, and we set the stage. I mean, there's only maybe 4 or 5 more shark attacks the rest of the movie over the next 2 hours.
Yeah. I actually appreciate that about movies when they do that. Like, I don't know. I think it can work for some movies, but I like more when movies don't kind of beat around the bush and you're just kind of like, yep, there's a shark. Okay, I don't need to spend much time about exposition about this. I don't really care about why the sheriff is here, on this island. Go.
Yeah, I will say it kind of felt a little separated because it's like here's this whole plot about like the shitty town council and it's all about the shark on the beach and stuff, and then like the last 45 minutes is 3 dudes on a boat.
I think that, in my opinion, that kind of makes it interesting because I feel like you almost have 2 enemies, if that makes sense. Like, you have the one which is like, either disinformation or people trying to like, not recognize a threat or not acknowledge that a threat exists due to it being inconvenient for them. And then you actually have the like solving of the problem. So I think it's interesting to me in that because it's like, it'd be less of an interesting movie if everyone was like, yep, this thing's bad. Let's go get it. Let's close down the beaches and you just go hunt it down. Like, it's more interesting that like people were reluctant to close things down for their safety. And then obviously that bit them in the butt and then they had to go actually solve the problem.
And then everyone put on face masks and we solved the shark problem.
Yes. The shark problem.
But yeah, no, I agree with you
I'm
because
pretty sure.
it's kind of designating like, okay, like you 3 go take care of this. We'll just sit back.
Was there a worst part or a low light for anybody?
Okay, so I will preface this by saying I do like the movie. However, I felt like the boat scene where they were all 3 on the boat hunting the shark, I felt like that dragged on forever. Like, I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed what happened, but I should say, I liked most of it. I just felt like they could have cut much of it. Like, I seriously think they could have cut like 20 minutes of that entire scene, and it would have had no net effect on anything. Personally, I don't know. Like I said, I just felt like it dragged on. Like, I was kind of just like looking at my like watch or whatever. Like, oh my god, like this is
Wait, were you
still
waiting
going.
for it to end?
No, not in that way. Not in that way. It was more so just like this is just like oh man, I don't know. Like, I really just felt like I was just kind of just like, come on, I'm waiting for something significant to happen. It just felt like they kept trying to do certain things and it just wasn't working, and then you would just have to like sit there and wait while they tried something, either the same thing again or try something else.
Yeah, in that regard, this movie suffers from what I like to call the Full Metal Jacket problem. But it's essentially two movies.
Right.
There's the beginning, and then there's the other half. This movie is similar. It doesn't suffer as bad though. The beginning of Jaws is like a detective kind of thriller movie, and then at the end it's like an action-packed horror. There are some jump scares sprinkled throughout, but it does seem like it's almost two halves of two different movies.
Today's episode is brought to you by Audible. How it works is every month members get 1 credit to pick any title, plus 2 Audible originals from a monthly selection. Audible has a free, easy-to-use app that allows you to download titles and listen offline at your convenience. Dylan and Ben, what are your experiences with Audible?
So I used the Audible free trial a couple years ago, and I've gone back to it since. I listened to Pet Sematary by Stephen King, and I really like it when I'm driving on like long road trips.
I used it to listen to one of James Ellroy's LA quartet novels, The Big Nowhere. I would definitely recommend it to anyone on the go, whether it's just driving to work or for long flights. It's great. You can, listen to something on your phone, connect it to Bluetooth. You get to work, log into your work computer, and listen up.
To start your free 30-day trial, go to audibletrial.com/cocktailsandclassics, all lowercase. Again, that's audibletrial.com/cocktailsandclassics. After your free trial is up, it'll cost $14.95 per month. However, there are no commitments, and if you can't decide what to listen to at that particular month, that's okay. You can always roll your credits over for up to a year.
It's that time again. It's time for Zach's quiz. Take it away.
Thanks, Dylan. All right, we're going to get right into it. Cam, Carlos, and Dylan. The first question is, even though Jaws originally opened to only 409 screens, it quickly became the highest grossing film of all time. How many days did it take to hit that milestone? A, 48 days, B, 78 days, or C, 108 days?
48 days is a long time.
For it to be the highest grossing movie of all time up to that point.
I mean, it got beat 2 years later by Star Wars. Hopefully that's not a trivia question, but man, it's hard because I don't really know what cinema was like back then, because 48 days, I don't know. 108 days feels like a long time. Like, that's over 3 months. That's a long fucking time.
Yeah, it's part of the thing is I'm trying to think. I'm like, how fast did news travel? And because nowadays I feel like it's almost instantaneous. If you hear something is good, it spreads like wildfire.
Yeah.
Like a month and a half, almost 2 months is kind of enough time, maybe.
I mean, on the flip side, it took Endgame to a long time to beat the record by Avatar, I think, right? Like, it wasn't
but we're
in the
also
first
talking
month.
about like $1 billion.
I know. I'm gonna split the difference and just go 78, I guess.
I think I will go with 48.
You know what? Since it's the three of us playing, I'll play the game. 108.
Carlos carries on the tradition. and he suffers for it. Cameron got that one correct. It's 78 days.
Yeah.
It's a fun fact. They originally wanted to open this movie to like 900 theaters, which at the time was huge. Like that, people didn't really do that. They wanted it to just let's get this movie out to as many people as possible, and then the studio at the last second decided, cut that number in half. I want this to be like a slow burn throughout the summer.
Perfect timing for that movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, if I recall correctly, it was one of the like original summer blockbuster movies.
That's something that I think is really cool about this movie is it's like a massive blockbuster, but it's also like a really well done movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it got a bunch of nominations for visual effects and stuff like that, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, like you said, the shark looks good even today.
Yeah, it does.
It did not get nominated at all for special effects.
What? It got nominated for something, I thought.
Sound,
Well, it
film
should've.
editing, music, and picture.
Your boy
Oh,
John
okay.
Williams.
Question number 2. During an initial screening of the movie, the test audience was so terrified of the jump scares that they actually drowned out the now famous "You're gonna need a bigger boat" scene. That line, they drowned it out. In order to compensate for that and add a little more time for that comic relief, the filmmakers decided to add an additional 35 feet of film to extend the sequence. True or false?
What do you mean, 35 feet? Like, can you describe what that means?
Well, you're gonna have to know the conversion of feet to frame rate.
Well, I mean, so is that what it is? Like, they just added, did they
Yeah,
record
so-
more? Or, like, how does that work?
So 35 feet of film would probably be like a couple seconds. I can tell you if you want to wait a few seconds.
Look at Dylan lending his knowledge. This could be a total industry advantage, but he's willing to share the info.
So, wait, I'm confused. Did they record, I'm just wondering how they split.
So-
Did they just, splice it in?
Yeah, so
or,
they're saying
how
like
did
they
that work?
added possibly a couple more seconds to lessen the jump scare for their test audience.
Well, I think they separated the jump scare from the quote, is my understanding, by, a couple seconds.
Okay.
Right?
What did they shoot this on, Zach?
I don't know.
DVD? What film stock did they shoot
Blu-ray?
on?
I don't have that information.
Oh, okay.
I do
Well-
have a possibly true fact or maybe a false fact.
Everyone's gonna wait for me to give my answer.
This is going to be dumb because it's going to be like, no, it was 36 feet. Ha, I got you, suckers.
Got him.
I'll say false.
I'll say false as well. Maybe it was a different line. I don't know. I'm going to hedge my bets and say false.
I'm gonna also say false. That's a lot of time. It's like 23 seconds.
It was true. They added 35 feet of film.
Wow.
Wow.
So, score recap. We
I
have
even did the math.
we have Cameron with 1 point, and Carlos and Dylan are tied with 0 points. Question number 3. Who of the following people got stuck in a mechanical shark's mouth during filming? Is it A, John Milius, who is the screenwriter, kind of an uncredited screenwriter, B, Steven Spielberg, or C, George Lucas?
George Lucas is a wild card in there.
Well, we know they were friends, Spielberg and Lucas.
It seems kind of weird to throw in this uncredited writer in here if he's not the real answer. I'm gonna say Spielberg.
Yeah, I'll say
I guess.
Spielberg.
I don't know.
I feel like he probably wanted to try out the shark and then got stuck.
You know what? Never mind. I'm gonna switch my answer to George Lucas. There's a vague memory I have of that, so I'm gonna say George.
That
For when
just
you were a
seems-
wee lad watching Jaws?
No, I just mean you see things on the internet sometimes. I'm gonna switch my answer to George Lucas.
That just seems like a George Lucas thing to get stuck.
Yeah, he would get fucking stuck in a goddamn shark mouth.
I'm gonna
Big
say
idiot.
the mysterious writer who we've never heard of and is not on IMDb at all.
So, Spielberg thought it would be hilarious. He invited his buddies George Lucas and John Milius over to take a look at the mechanical shark. Spielberg tripped George Lucas, who fell into the mechanical shark's mouth, and then couldn't get the button to open the mouth to operate correctly. So yes, George Lucas was stuck in the mouth.
Nice. Called it.
Cameron wins it 2-0.
Yeah, there you go.
The outright winner. Is this the first time we haven't had to have a tiebreaker?
Yeah, for
It
real.
might be.
So I did the job of scouring the internet for some negative reviews of the film. And let's just get into it here. So this review is from Amazon. Marion Capriotti from December 30th, 2014. They gave it a 1 out of 5 stars.
1 out of 5?
Yes.
Okay.
They are a verified purchaser of the film, if that means anything to you.
Well, that's good. They have like the blue check mark next to their name.
Wasn't one of those goddamn Russian trolls.
Yeah. No, it just literally says verified purchase.
Right, yeah. Well,
so-
you know they bought the movie to watch it. You know,
Well, hopefully.
or didn't watch it, I guess. They could have just bought it.
Jeff Bezos personally confirmed.
I've looked at your Alexa, and I've noticed that you haven't watched Jaws yet. Can you get on that and leave a review? Thank you. Marion said, so this was the film that launched Steven Spielberg's career? Jeez, I feel sorry for the shark. The last scene where the shark hunter gets et seems fair enough to me. Why are we supposed to care about him? Damned if the film gave me a reason. Go shark!
What?
All right.
Oh,
How do you
man.
watch this movie and root for the shark? Oh my god, that's funny. Go shark.
Where do you start with that?
Nom nom nom.
Oh.
It's so interesting to me that you watch that movie and root for the shark. It's like, oh yeah, go fucking eat that little kid. Yes. Oh yeah, rip that guy up to shreds. Yeah, he sucked. That's so funny.
But also the shitting on, like, this is what launched Spielberg's career? Are you kidding me? Like, yeah, I don't think this is Spielberg's best movie, but it's one of his best movies.
Right,
I call
it's
it a
it's
top
still
3 Spielberg
good,
movie.
you know?
I mean, I get that Quint isn't like the most lovable character, but it's also not like he doesn't deserve to just get eaten in half by the shark. Like,
None of them do.
have you seen like Jurassic World? There's like the scene where the lady who's like the babysitter. She's not obviously the babysitter, but the lady who works at Jurassic World and is like set to babysit the kids. She gets picked up like the pterodactyl and like put to the ringer, and then finally gets eaten by the thing in the water, like the
Oh my
megalodon.
god.
Like that is essentially the Quint death scene to me, because it's just long and drawn out, and it's like it's happening, and it's like almost torture porny in a sense.
Yeah, I feel like this movie, what it does really well is scaring you with like, here's this shark attack. And there's scenes like we've addressed the kid and there's a ton of blood, but there's not a ton of gore until that last scene, until Quint's death and like he goes for the legs. That's when you get like that taste of body shreddingness. But I think they do a good job using the water to hide out most of the gore in this movie.
Right. Well, it kind of like, and it kind of just again makes you feel bad for him because he's supposed to be the quote unquote expert in this case. And obviously he's got some experience surviving shark attacks in the past, clearly with his story of the the USS Indianapolis, and so this is kind of like his going out in a blaze of glory, I guess, jabbing the shark with a machete and then getting dragged under. But yeah, like what Zach said about you don't really see much of the gore factor too much, like until it gets up to that part, and the sound effects too. I mean, you literally hear the shark like crunching into him. It's pretty rough.
Our next review comes from Giraffe Door.
Giraffe door?
He or she.
Draft
yes,
or giraffe?
Door.
This is important.
Okay.
Giraffe, like the long neck, no nipple having ass bitch.
Yeah. The weird leopard camel.
Leopard camel.
yes.
Say.
He or she gave this movie a 3 out of 10 from June 2nd, 2019. They said, not enough sharks.
What?
Is that it?
Go watch Deep Blue Sea.
Okay.
Just go watch Deep
Okay.
Blue Sea.
Wait, is
Get
that
outta
not
here.
the review title?
That is the review title.
I thought that
not
was the
enough
whole
sharks?
review.
The bits with the shark are great, even when you don't see the shark. I don't want there to be too much shark. I want them to have good build-up. But too much of the movie are very bland human characters saying nothing very interesting. The subplot of keeping beaches open for profit is also insultingly flaccid. Has its moments, has its moments, but it's horribly dated, like most of its makers' movies.
I
So
think
most of Spielberg's movies are dated, is what you're trying to say.
Yeah, there's always I see a recurring theme with these reviews that I'm gonna leave a mediocre review, and then the last sentence I'm just gonna throw
Yeah.
out this crazy statement that I believe, and I'm just gonna shock the world. Like
Yeah. I
like
see that
in
on people
our
arguing online of not even just movie reviews. Like they'll say something which is like, usually garbage, but then their last sentence will be something that's just like totally abhorrent and you're just like, okay, disregard what you just said. Let's focus on that for a second.
I think red Skittles are the best Skittle because also 9/11 was a conspiracy. Whoa, what? That didn't have
Right.
anything to do with what we were
It's like,
talking
all right,
about.
let's forget about the skills for a minute and let's talk about that shit, Joe. Let's talk about that garbage belief you have.
It's like was it Taxi Driver? The guy's like, yeah, this movie is very much a little violent. I didn't like it that much. Also, 2001: A Space Odyssey sucks.
Yeah.
You're like,
he compared it to like 3 of the greatest movies ever, and then said, "Yeah, this sucks, just like all the other ones."
Yeah.
excuse me, sir. Also, not enough sharks, but I didn't want there to be too much sharks.
What does that mean?
It sounds like this guy just wants to go watch Deep Blue Sea.
Dude, has this guy fucking seen Sharknado? Holy shit. You should check
There is
that
a
shit
lot of
out.
sharks.
There is a lot of
That might be
sharks.
too many sharks.
That's
I will
true.
say
Too
that
many sharks?
this review touches on. This review really hammers on. I want there to be buildup, but I also want more sharks, but not too many sharks. And the dialogue is bland and doesn't do anything. I would say that this movie firmly erects itself based on the dialogue. It leads you right to the tip of the
Shut the
shark
fuck up.
scenes.
Shut the fuck
There's
up.
so much
Stop.
building tension.
And John
The movie
Williams' score
protrudes
just
into your heart.
shafts that tension.
No, it really
right
brings it to a
into the-
climax.
Yes.
The end is a little flaccid. The end of the movie is a tad flaccid.
Before the movie, those of us who had seen it wrote down our ratings based off nostalgia and memory. And now I want to know if your rating has changed or not.
So, like I said, I saw this movie first when I was a kid, and I don't think I was able to appreciate it for what it was. It definitely scared the shit out of me. But heading into the movie, I gave it a 6. After watching it, I'm gonna bump it up a bit. I'm gonna give it a 7. I think the movie is really good. There are some dialogue spots where, yeah, it's hard to understand people, but I think it does a really good job of tying in like a good kind of not a murder mystery, but like a mystery thriller, and then supplying plenty of action. And it's not as corny as other Spielberg movies. So I think a 7's pretty good. I'm gonna leave it there.
Myself, I went in written down with an 8, just because I remember this movie like really fondly. The last time that I saw it, just an overall good action movie, and I'm okay with the dialogue being being a little corny. Like I understand it was what year, Dylan? 75.
Yeah.
Yeah, 75.
So I mean it's understandable. So after it, I'm gonna keep it at an 8, just because it doesn't disappoint. 9 times out of 10, if it's on TV, I'm gonna sit and watch it. And I know that there was a lot of inspiration for obviously other shark movies and things that drew from this movie later on, which I also watched, like Deep Blue Sea, obviously, and then there was also a mini series special called 12 Days of Terror, based on the 1916 shark attacks in New Jersey, which was pretty interesting. But yeah, I mean it's all interesting, but knowing that a lot of inspiration stems from this movie is pretty cool. So yeah, I give it an 8.
Going in, I thought pretty highly of the film. I gave it an 8 out of 10 going in. And after viewing it, I think I'm going to move it down a little bit. I do enjoy this film. I do think it's like a must watch. I think it's very well put together. The John Williams score is amazing. The cinematography is really well done. I just think it gets a little dragged out at points. I think if you cut this down to like an hour 45, I think it's a lot more delectable of a movie. Weird word to say about that, but I think it's a lot more enjoyable if it was more compact. And for that, I'm gonna give it a 6 out of 10. I still definitely recommend the movie. I still think this is a classic, but I don't think it's the best thing that's.
I do think that the movie could have been a little shorter. I think that if, like you said, if it was a solid hour 45, and I think they really could have cut some from like the last like 30 minutes or whatever it was on the boat, or somewhere else. I do think it could have been a little shorter. However, I'm still gonna rate this at an 8. I thought it was really good. I was pleasantly surprised going in, or like coming out of it. Going in, I thought it was gonna be pretty dated, and I thought like I wasn't really that excited to watch it, to be honest. Just because I thought I kind of knew what it was about, and I thought it was gonna be kind of corny, maybe a little campy, kind of like just. It wasn't going to be a movie that I would actually enjoy watching that much because it's kind of like, all right, I've seen this before. But it wasn't. I was actually surprised. The main thing too is that the effects held up really well. So like the shark held up really well. You can tell it was more practical effects, and it was really believable as a result from the time period. So I'm gonna stand with it at an 8 out of 10. Would recommend. I do think it's a classic. I think if you haven't seen the movie before, you should do yourself a favor and watch it. It's not. It doesn't like blow me out of the water, pun intended, with how like amazing it is.
Ooh.
I didn't mean to say that as I was saying it, but after I said it. Like, it's not the best movie I've ever seen, per se, but I still think it's a really good movie, and I would recommend it. I actually think this movie is better than Jurassic Park.
You shut your damn mouth.
Which is odd because you rated them the same.
Yeah, but Jurassic Park was the first movie we did, so I didn't have, like, a basis for ratings yet, I was just kind of flying along. But yeah, honestly, like, I don't know. I think this movie holds up a little more than Jurassic Park. I mean, I enjoyed Jurassic Park, don't get me wrong. Also, I think this movie holds up way, way, way better than Indiana Jones in the Raiders of the Lost Ark. Like, I think this movie, like, is so much better than Indiana Jones.
Yeah, this movie does not get in its own way. It's very simple. They use the water very well. Like, hey, the scary beast is in the water where you can never see it, and that's the scary part. They don't CGI it, probably because they couldn't, and it's just a robot a couple times. And other than that, it's just pure fear. I think it does a really good job.
Yeah. If you enjoyed this, don't forget to rate and subscribe, and check us out on Instagram at Cocktails and Classics Pod, and use the hashtag Cocktails and Classics to send us your drink photos and your movie recommendations. Thanks for listening, everyone, and as always, watch responsibly.